I've gotten this game recommended to me a couple of times by you guys, and to be honest, the game looked a little off-putting when I first saw its Steam store page. It just looked miserable. But I love dark fantasy, so I decided to give it a try. Little did I know, this game would be my new obsession for the next few weeks. So Fear and Hunger starts with you choosing one of 4 classes. I chose to start as the knight since she seemed like the most balanced one. But yeah, depending on who you pick, you'll get to choose the game mode afterwards, and then the option to skip the intro. The intro plays out your chosen character's backstory, and I was actually surprised that there were backstories in this game because I just assumed that each class was just characters with different gameplay mechanics. Like the mercenary would use knives and the dark priest would use magic or something. But nope, there's a lot more to them, and they even have their own names. There are different choices that you can make during the character's intro. Depending on what you choose, your character will learn unique skills and items that you can use in the actual game. After going through that, I wasn't sure what to expect. All Fear and Hunger told me was that I was looking for a man named Lagarde, and that I had to act fast or else he would be executed. After that, the game dropped me in front of an ominous-looking castle. I then investigated a dead horse nearby, walked around, and then I died like a minute later to 2 hounds. Yep, that's Fear and Hunger, everyone. Okay, so how did my very first run end? Well, the game warned me that there were some barking dogs getting closer and closer, but I ignored it and took my time looking around. Eventually, a dog appeared on the map and chased me really fast until a fight started. The dogs were actually cute and fluffy, so I figured they wouldn't be so tough, especially since I was playing as a warrior, but that first bite made me regret everything. My HP went down from 100 to 40 in one turn, and my character started bleeding. I tried to run away, but I got stuck, so I had to continue fighting with everything I got. Turns out, it wasn't much since they killed me in 2 bites. When I started my second run, I learned my lesson, so I just searched around a little and then I went straight into the castle. When I stepped inside, I was immediately swallowed up by the intense atmosphere of the area. The menacing text at the bottom of the screen and the darkness combined with the ambience really got to me. It got to me so much that I feel like dying to the dogs outside would have been a much nicer fate than whatever I was going to encounter beyond that place. And then I encountered the prison guard. I tried talking to that thing and telling him that we didn't need to fight. Unsurprisingly, he ignored me and attacked anyway. I couldn't run away, so I fought back by cutting its stinger off. And then the guard tried to grab me, but I won some kind of coin flip, so my character evaded its grasp. I managed to cut its arm off, but then I lost another coin flip, and it just unleashed a bunch of attacks until I died. Now my third run, I avoided the guards, fought a door, and got quite far. Or at least I thought I got far. I explored a little bit of the castle until I ended up fighting an armored guard this time. I couldn't run away, so I tried talking to him and telling him that we didn't need to fight. And then I died. Now my fourth run ended in a very horrific situation. Like, I thought my character died, but then I just woke up in a dungeon cell with no legs. I actually thought of just dropping the game right there. It was just way too much for me at the time, especially since those 4 runs literally happened within a span of like 30 minutes. But then Fear and Hunger's world and atmosphere left such a strong impression on me that I could not stop thinking about the game the day after. I learned a lot of things from my first 30 minutes in the game. The first one being that Fear and Hunger is not a typical RPG. Despite how it looks, Fear and Hunger is a survival horror game. I realized that when I purposely tried to kill every enemy, I either died or lost way more than I gained. Killing the monsters didn't give any XP. All it gave me was little to no junk, even though my character lost so much health and even her own limbs. I picked my own battles from that point on. When I started looting everything I could, gaining new party members and avoiding enemies as much as possible, the game clicked for me more and more. The turn-based combat is just as brutal as everything else in the game, since you'll be cutting lots of body parts. The best way to instantly kill an enemy is to aim for their head, but the problem is, going straight for it will almost always result in you missing, so you'll have to choose whether to cut their arms or legs. At first I thought I just had to cut everything off and then aim for their head. But then I realized that Fear and Hunger's enemies all have a certain strategy to them. Like cutting off their weapon-wielding arm can prevent attacks from certain monsters, while others need to be cut from their legs before aiming at another part of their body. This whole combat system made Fear and Hunger's battles incredibly unique, especially when you encounter more bizarre enemies. Each fight becomes almost like puzzle solving, except the stakes are so high that you'll be losing your legs, party members, and your sanity until you finally understand how it all works. So on top of fighting and avoiding enemies, you have to manage the fear and hunger aspects of the game, your sanity and hunger level. As soon as you enter the dungeon, it starts to slowly drain throughout the game, which is why scavenging for items is a must. You'll find food, alcohol, and, opium? I mean, your characters must find some way to cope with everything that's happening. Gaining new party members makes combat easier, but then you have to worry about their hunger and sanity level as well. It's a lot to handle, especially when you're struggling to progress through the game. Luckily, the game's filled with lootable objects, so your biggest enemy is the RNG. Yeah, this game has a lot of that. You'll quickly notice that different items appear in the same locations in every run. There were times when the starting area would give me lots of food and meat to cook, while others gave me useful tools like bear traps and keys for locked doors. Oh yeah, even saving is RNG. The save points in the game are beds, but there's very few of them in the game. Most are also really risky to sleep in, since you'll need to flip a coin to successfully save. If you win, you'll get to save normally, but if you lose, you'll wake up to an enemy trying to sneak up on you. Like, the game's already difficult, but the fact that Fear and Hunger's save system is like this will annoy a lot of players. It personally tested my patience early in the game, so much that I was thinking of installing a mod that would let me save anytime. But the farther I got in each run, the more familiar the enemies and environments became. It got to the point where my later playthroughs felt almost like speedruns. I'd breeze through areas that I was previously stuck in, and I'd use shortcuts and strategies that I've learned along the way. It also helped that my growing obsession with the game made me embrace its insanity. This game just has a lot of interesting lore surrounding it. The locations, enemies, and items hold so much mystery that made me curious about the dungeons of Fear and Hunger, even if it meant I would fall deeper into its rabbit hole. I went from focusing on my goal to find the captain and then leaving the dungeon, to being desperate to uncover its secrets. Secrets that probably should have been left hidden. I'll just say that this game has gods, eldritch creatures, and Lovecraftian horror mixed in, which is why I could not stop playing it when it clicked for me. Now, this game isn't all doom and gloom. It can be pretty funny too, though the humor can be questionable because, well, it gets really dark. I was too far gone in my later playthroughs, so I would laugh at the most horrible things. The brutality became normal too, like, oh, my arm is infected? I'll just saw it off. My party member's leg is, yeah, saw that off too. But yeah, my only real issue with the game is the RNG, as I mentioned earlier. It's one of the most annoying aspects, even in combat. It does make fights more intense, but there were times where it felt unfair. I've had situations where I knew exactly how to beat the enemy, but then my character and party members would keep missing attacks, causing my entire plan to fail. The only reason why I managed to get really far in my last playthrough was because I kept reloading my save until I found a specific item that I needed for a shortcut at the start. I got lucky in the later parts of my playthrough too, because I managed to scavenge some decent weapons and accessories that boosted my party's accuracy. It was especially helpful for the endgame bosses. Overall, Fear and Hunger is an amazing game. I ended up spending over 40 hours in the game, achieving multiple endings and just exploring everything that I could. It's a deep horror RPG packed with so much detail that I just couldn't let go of it. I highly recommend the game, only if you can stomach all the inappropriate content. I know it can be too much for a lot of people, heck, even for someone like me who loves dark fantasy. But despite the initial shock factor and the frustration that came from not knowing how to play the game, it was such a fun experience that really brought out my curious side. If you want to play it yourself, the game is only on PC, and it's available on Steam and itch.io. Let me know what you thought about the video, and once again, thank you to my patrons at Patreon for supporting my channel. Okay, I was going to talk about a completely different game for this video, but I just got bored of it. I ended up playing Fear and Hunger, and well, here we are now. I'll play through its sequel, Termina, as much as I can until I can eventually make a video on that too. So far, it's pretty good, so yeah, look forward to it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.